Welcome back. Israel's counteroffensive to the surprise attack by Palestinian militant group Hamas intensifies this morning. Overnight, Israeli airstrikes flattened a 14-story tower that housed some Hamas offices in central Gaza City. Hamas controls the Gaza Strip, which is roughly the size of Washington, D.C., and is home to 2 million people. But what do we really know about this group the United States considers to be a terrorist organization? And why has this conflict kept the region mired in violence for decades? Dr. Bruce Hoffman, Senior Fellow for Counterterrorism and Homeland Security at the Council on Foreign Relations, joins me now to answer those questions. Dr. Hoffman, thanks so much for joining me. You know, when this happened, when this news broke yesterday, we obviously were in the throes of dealing with the immediacy of the military kind of actions that were being taken. But, you know, about a day later, I wanted you to come on to the show because I wanted people to understand Hamas and understand it's a terrorist organization and that it is not indicative of all Palestinians. But I wanted you and your expertise to provide our viewers with a really quick history, a brief history of this militant group.
Yes, of course. Hamas was founded in 1987, and just the fact that it's lasted 3 decades or so shows that it is not a flash in the pan, that it does have widespread support on the Gaza Strip. But I think your point is very important. It certainly is not representative of all Palestinians. In fact, the last time that Hamas held democratic elections on the Gaza Strip was a decade and a half ago. So it's certainly an authoritarian, totalitarian, religiously driven and motivated organization.
Are you surprised at the level of sophistication and scope and coordination of the attack that just took place yesterday? I mean, something on this complexity and scale has some speculating that Hamas had outside support.
I'm absolutely surprised. It's very few terrorist organizations in history that have been able to mount simultaneous air, sea, and land attacks that are coordinated. Now, al-Qaeda had air, sea, and land capabilities, but they never unveiled them in one go. I think one does have to look to the very high possibility of state support, of state advice, of state funding. We know that Iran delivers hundreds of millions of dollars annually to Hamas. Certainly the professionalism, the fact that this was kept secret and the planning and preparation went undetected by, after all, 2 of the most sophisticated intelligence agencies in the world, Israel and the United States, shows that this was not an isolated terrorist group in a small corner of a patch of land in the Middle East plotting and planning this on their own.
There are some theories, sir, that the reason why Hamas chose now to be able to launch this kind of attack is because of the affirmative steps, the progress that's been made to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, thereby creating more of an isolation for Hamas and the Gaza Strip. What are your thoughts on that?
Beyond any doubt, the biggest enemies are precisely moderates and those working towards peace. We have to understand, too, that terrorism is always a strategy of provocation. It's designed to provoke the terrorist enemies into an escalatory response that the terrorists believe will work in their favor. And this is something that I think must be weighing very heavily on the minds of Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli cabinet, as how to calibrate their response. Because obviously this conflict is going to escalate. There's the danger of Hezbollah attacking from the north, Palestinians rising up in the West Bank, and behind the scenes, certainly Iran very gleefully watching these developments, and indeed the scuttling of the Abraham Accords and the peace process that so many have worked so hard over the past few years to implement.
There haven't been any shortages of violent and bloody conflicts between Israel and Hamas over the years. Why do you think that it is now that you're seeing this type of coordinated attack that's being done by Hamas against Israel?
In some respects, I think, unfortunately, precisely this event was preordained by Hamas's covenant that's decades old, that quite explicitly is a genocidal document, perhaps matched only by Hitler's Mein Kampf, where it calls in Article 13 to disdain, to abjure from, to abstain from negotiations, that they're a waste of time. And then in Article 7 quite explicitly calls for the slaughter of Jews. So Hamas has been biding its time, marshaling its forces, doubtlessly supported by Iraq and even other terrorist organizations, and felt with the 50th anniversary of the last great intelligence failure and surprise attack on Israel, the 1973 Yom Kippur War, with Israeli politics in internal disarray, which is a very important lesson for the security of the United States. Enemies strike when they see division, polarization, paralysis at home. And this provided, unfortunately, the perfect storm for Hamas to launch this attack.
I want to follow up briefly on what you just said, which I think is important. This idea that terrorist organizations can smell blood in the water. So they're going to look for holes in the armor to be able to do that, especially when they see that type of disarray. We obviously have gone through our own share of that domestically here in the United States. And so, Professor, are you saying that you have to mind your house and make sure it's in order to stave off a potential terrorism attack?
That is exactly my message. I've studied terrorism for nearly 50 years. And what time and time again happens is when countries are distracted, when they're preoccupied, when they become complacent about a threat, this certainly Israel was, given the lack of preparation and alert along its borders, is precisely as you described, when terrorists smell blood, when they see an opening, an opportunity to strike. And unfortunately, when the consequences are greatest, because terrorists are always trying to undermine confidence in elected leadership and to bring down democracies. And they use the trigger of violence and the promise of escalation and the chaos that results and the tragic bloodshed and loss of life to actually use that as a lever to ply and advance their agendas.
Dr. Bruce Hoffman, I wish I had more time. I invite you, sir, to come back to the show so we can continue to have more of a substantive conversation. But I want to thank you greatly for taking the time to share your information, your knowledge with our viewers this morning. Thank you.
You're very welcome.